Join Tony Bodoh and Kayla Barrett, co-authors of the #1 bestseller, The Complete Experience, and learn powerful insights that will help you confidently drive your organization's success.
So one of the things that a lot of companies are really concerned about today is virality, and that could be the negative virality that happens when they get a bad review online, or it could be a negative press story, and that goes viral. It spreads across the country and around the world very quickly. And it's this fear of the negative story and the impact it's going to have on their business that they're really worried about. One of the things that we've seen when we look at virality and the science that's really the study of virality right now is that it comes down to two different types of virality. The first one is the commentary. So people are talking about it and they're commenting on posts that are going viral, but they're not actually sharing it themselves. That's a different behavior. The behavior of sharing happens when people will read it and they'll want to share it with other people. And so it's the positive side, you've got the happy cat videos, right, that everyone's sharing. But on the negative side, you've got these stories that people just feel like angry and upset and frustrated. Why did this happen?
And they feel they need to share it.
Exactly. They're trying to protect someone often, or maybe they're taking revenge on a company and saying, we don't like the way you did something, so we're going to fight back the only way we know how. And the reason that this virality is so important today, because as we talked about in the book, The Complete Experience, so many companies are not realizing the impact that their behaviors, their actions, their cultures, their employees and what their employees are doing on a daily basis is having on them, because it's going out there in the world and they never get to actually see the customers that don't buy from them. They don't get to see the customers that never show up at their website or in their doors.
As the result of reading a viral post or viral story somewhere. So they've made a buying decision and the company doesn't even know they said no.
Exactly. So let's take a real recent example, Wells Fargo, right?
Oh, that's a great example.
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch how it's unfolded and what's happened for them. So over the course of about 5 years, just to recap the story, they had fired over 5,000 employees, about 1% of their workforce, because these employees were being incented to open extra accounts, or they were incented to open lots of accounts. 8 is great was the mantra by the CEO. And so the employees that were opening deposit accounts and that at the local branches, when you went in and signed up for this, or you go for a credit card and you sign up there, they would open extra accounts up in your name and you would just sign them as you're filling out all the paperwork. Real easy way to get away with it.
But inflating
their numbers.
Inflating their numbers.
Exactly. Yes. And the challenge there is that as they began to fire these 5,000 people and get rid of them, they did it very quietly. But in 2013, when a reporter in Los Angeles started to hear something was going on, dug into it, the Los Angeles Attorney General of Los Angeles, I believe, or in California there, they dug into this and they started a whole investigation. And then in September is when the news broke that Wells Fargo was being fined $185 million. Federal officials were getting involved. And so nothing had gone viral for the 5 years that they were actually getting rid of employees and trying to handle some of this internally, keeping it quiet. It only went viral when it hit the news.
And it exploded.
It did.
It exploded on every news. It was the headline of every morning news show for several days in a row. Mm-hmm. And they were actually speaking to what they were seeing, what people were talking about online. I mean, it completely blew up.
They would go out and search for an individual who had been hurt by this. So you may have one out of the 2 million accounts that were opened, grab 1 or 2 or 3 people. And don't get me wrong, what they did was not right. But these 1 or 2 stories caused so much emotion, so much anger, so much frustration, especially coming off of what happened in 2008 and 2009 with the banks and how people didn't feel like they were punished appropriately. And so there's this pent-up rage, this pent-up revenge, reciprocation that people are now acting out through Wells Fargo.
So did the emotion, you just talked about there was all this pent-up emotion. Did the emotion create the virality?
Yes. What happens when people start sharing is that there's a particular combination of emotions that they're finding cause the willingness and the desire to share. And typically it happens when you have something that is extremely, you feel like a victim, right? You feel like you have no control. The locus of control is very much out there. And
I'm trapped.
You're trapped. But then you feel, I have a way of actually taking control. And it's that feeling of, oh, I can take control. So when we look at positive reviews, that's actually why people buy. They feel like, oh, my conditions, my circumstances are in control of me. But if I buy this product, I will be in control. So that's why they buy. That's the decision they make. By the same token, when people share a negative review, when they're sharing it, they're feeling like, I have a way to take revenge, to take control of the situation from my perspective, whether I was hurt or someone I know was hurt. That's their way of taking control.
And I have to speak up.
Exactly.
It's that moment of, and I guess, is that what we're seeing today through social media? We spend a lot of time in our book talking about online reviews, that it's this online experience that people have now. So when you're talking about they've got to speak up, they're speaking up on every avenue possible to them.
When the company doesn't hear them, when they feel like the employees aren't hearing them. And that's one of the things that we see too. If you look at a 5-star review, you'll find that most often it's a human connection that makes it a 5-star. That human connection goes away when you drop down to 4. There's some connection, but at nearly as much. By the time you hit a 3, there is no connection whatsoever. And a 1, if you're looking at a 1-star review, usually it's a negative connection. Like, this person, they robbed from me, they stole from me, they made me feel bad, they were rude. And so it's not a connection, but it's the opposite of that connection. It's actually a pulling back from. And so online, when people feel like they can make a connection, they're going to usually give a very good review. But when they're sharing these negative things, these viral things that we're talking about, that's going to be caused typically because they feel like there's a separation. They feel like no one's listening to them. They feel like there's no relationship there. They feel like the only way that they can take control is to lash out like this. And so it's fascinating to understand this, because if you understand what drives the emotion for your customers, you may actually be doing something that's going to make them lash out at you very quickly. So banks, as an example, we want to trust our banks. Right. We want to make sure that the bank is doing what's right. And when they do something that violates our trust, very quickly, we're going to go after them.
And it's that we almost feel like it's our responsibility to do that. So when it becomes those negative emotions, what you were describing even with Wells Fargo, I can't be silent. Mm-hmm. You think about that responsibility of, if this happened and this is wrong, I've got to speak to that, and I've got to warn you.
Right.
Or I've got to help you not make the same mistake that I made. Don't go visit that company. Mm-hmm. If you do, you may have the same experience that I did, and I want to protect you from that. That's fascinating when you think about the connection of the emotion to the action.
Right.
We talk about that a lot in our complete experience work. It's integrated. And I'm curious, Tony, we do so much research in this whole experience component. Are business leaders today thinking about, I think every business leader is afraid of a viral explosion that's negative. How much time is devoted to preventing that?
It's interesting. There's a lot of time that's spent looking for and trying to find out what's going viral. Is anything out there going to be at risk of going viral? So you have teams of people in some of these large organizations, Fortune 500 companies, that are literally watching Facebook as it's coming in, or watching Twitter, or watching Instagram, and they're monitoring it because they don't know what's going to go viral. And so there's a lot of energy and there's a lot of money, millions of dollars every year, put into preventing the virality, the negative virality. The challenge I have with that is companies are really not investing nearly the energy and the focus on the positive virality. If they understood that they could take those same resources and turn them right, and look for what is positive and what's going viral, and how do we help amplify that in a way that's going to be authentic to the brand,
right,
in a way that's going to be acceptable to the consumer, and in a way that's going to be actually beneficial for the consumer, because more people will say, "Oh, I didn't know they could do that. I didn't know that's how they behaved. Wow, I want to be part of that," right?
Absolutely.
And there's so many ways that they can do that. We talk about that a little bit in the book and dive into it. And I really think it's important for people to understand, even our blog posts, we're diving into those things now, because if you just take a little bit of that energy, a little bit of that resource that you have focused on preventing the negative and focus on the positive, you can do amazing things.
Well, and what you're speaking to is, are we proactive or are we reactive?
Exactly.
And if you're describing those businesses that are watching every Facebook post and quickly saying, could this go bad? Could this go viral? Could this be negative? You're in a firefighting mode. That's exhausting for any business. Yet, if that much energy was placed on let's see, what are our customers saying? What experience did we just create for them? There was a connection. What do we do to share that with the world so that we're being proactive to create the positive experience?
Exactly.
It's kind of an interesting perspective.
And you could actually train your staff to listen at what is it? Was this a 5-star experience that they're talking about? Was it a 3-star? What is it, a 1-star? And what is the process that we use to respond to this person before they walk out the door? Before it even hits social media. Right. And so those are some of the things that are really important that we can think about. What for our organization is a 5-star review? What is a 3-star review? What is a 1-star review? And how do we handle that? And how do we build processes that amplify the 5-star reviews and resolve the 3 and 1-star reviews before they even happen? But let's take it further. Let's go beyond the online reviews. This includes your email. This includes your phone calls. You can be listening to a customer on the phone and you can hear those hidden patterns of language.
Absolutely.
That just reveal that this is going the wrong direction. And you can find processes or put processes in place that help you bring it back on course.
Absolutely. And that's when you begin looking at this comprehensive approach to it. It's an executive's role to be thinking about brand, to be thinking about what are our customers talking about us. It's every employee's perspective as well. Imagine what starts to happen when that forethought of, are we creating opportunities for our customers to just have to share their experience with us? That happens as it begins to cascade throughout the organization. And we talk about that in a lot of our other posts as well around this topic. But it's amazing to me. You think how much brain space today is being spent on that fear of, oh no, what if?
Yeah.
And it's the what if. You think about it, if you put yourself in the shoes of that CEO at Wells Fargo, imagine the many thoughts that have had to take up his brain in the midst of all of this. And that was an event that happened 5 years ago.
Well, in fact, I would look at it and say, I think they thought it wasn't a big deal.
I think you're probably right.
If you look at their behavior, because they accepted a settlement and very nonchalantly kind of said, okay, well, yeah, we'll take care of this.
It's over.
Because they wanted it to go away. They did not understand the relationship. In fact, if you go to Wells Fargo, now they may change it if this goes viral ourselves, but if you go to Wells Fargo's website and you look for their vision and values or mission and values, they talk about how relationship matters, doing what's right for the customer matters, how they'll never do anything unethical. They totally violated that. Totally violated. Now, not every employee. Let's get it straight. I mean, most of the employees are probably not doing anything wrong. But that small segment of employees that felt like they had to behave in this way because of the incentives, there's actually some stories now breaking that the people who could not perform at the level of the others, you had some people that are cheating and they're getting ahead this way, and the others that couldn't perform were actually fired. That's a real challenge, and that comes to a cultural issue I know we'll talk about in another video.
Absolutely. It's fascinating. I mean, you think about if I were a business owner today and watching this video, watching our conversation, would think, how much time am I spending today worried about what might happen versus what energy can we put toward creating?
What could I take right now?
Yes.
And what could I be present to the moment in and do and teach my employees to look for the moments right now that they could turn into positive virality.
Exactly. It's exciting. It's exciting.
It is.